Next, I wanted to quickly jump and talk about the Cristiano Ronaldo interview. I know some people, fans, especially of United, are getting their knickers in a twist about the things that he said, but I just want to focus on the main thing for me is that he's the first high profile, or maybe the first player at all in general, to call out the Glazers in this way. Obviously, Gary Neville has said some stuff himself, but his stuff is always to and fro. If the Glazers go and hire a football director, or if they hire him to basically get the club into shape, suddenly he'll be quiet again. So I feel like he kind of goes with the wind when it comes to criticizing the Glazers, but at least he has said something. But I think Ronaldo, being a current player and being somebody of his stature, coming out and saying the Glazers don't care about the club is absolutely important. And I feel like, as naive as it may be, as short-sighted as it may be for me, I still think that this will eventually end up leading to the Glazers selling the club. I think this will play a monumental role, especially when you think about the share price and whatnot. I really do think so. That's my hope anyway. But I also think in general, fans should, we knew who Ronaldo was as a person. We knew his personality, so nothing should be a surprise in his interview. I think he's allowed to feel aggrieved about certain things. Maybe certain things are blown out of proportion, but again, we don't have all the information. We don't have all the facts. We're going off what we hear online, and everyone's got a narrative they're wanting to spin. Everyone's trying to protect their own back. It's hard to really pass through what the truth is, but just from the sole point of saying what the main issue is at United, it never was the players, it never was the fans, it was always the owners. The fans try to turn the players against, or try to turn the fans against the players. The players do a good job at doing that. So sometimes Pogba is a good example of it, right? They do a good job at basically allowing the fans to basically insult them. But for the most part, Pogba was never the issue. All these guys were never the issue. The issue has always been the Glazers. The Glazers have run this club into the ground. And as soon as Sir Alex Ferguson left, the legendary greatest manager of all time, who won titles and trophies at United in spite of the Glazer ownership. Remember, he stepped away from the club imploded, and it's no coincidence that it did, because they're absolutely inept. They don't know how to run a football club, and they've legitimately ruined one of the best clubs in the world by just leaving it in a state of disrepair, really. That's what it is. Because even when the new owner comes in and wants to reawaken this sleeping giant, it's going to take a long time for us to get back on our feet. And we've still got all these other clubs we have to compete with. So it's going to be a long process. But I'm happy that this interview's happened, and hopefully this will eventually lead to the Glazers selling up, because I can't do this no more. So this is a clip of Cristiano Ronaldo talking about the Glazers here at the Piers Morgan Show. I'm going to play it right now.
Things weren't going well at Manchester United. The club just wasn't firing. And in the end, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the manager, got sacked. And that's within like 2 months of you coming back. What were you feeling about what was going on at United? And what did you feel generally about the club itself and the state that the club was in compared to when you'd been there before?
Piers, to be honest, when I signed for Manchester United, I thought everything was changed, because it's 13 years that I changed. I was in Real Madrid 9 years and 3 in Juventus. And when I arrived, I thought everything will be different, the technology, the infrastructures and everything. But I was surprised in a bad way, let's say in that way, because I saw everything was the same. And Manchester, it wasn't in that moment that, as you mentioned, that Oli was sacked. Michael Carrick, he assumed the job for 2 games, Villarreal and Chelsea away. And everything was so fast, but surprised me a lot. Instability in the club. Everything was kind of the same that I
It hadn't moved on.
No, they stopped on the clock, in my opinion, which is something that surprised me. I didn't expect. And slowly they start to change. Even the windows, the new players, and was tough. Was tough for me, because I didn't expect that. And
because when you were there before, if Manchester United wanted a player under Sir Alex Ferguson, they normally got their man. Right now, it's a very different environment. After many years of failure since Sir Alex retired, United weren't getting the top players anymore. So were you surprised by that dynamic changing as well? Because you would have been used before to them, if they wanted top players, they got them.
I was surprised. I thought when I signed, that they signed in that year, Sancho and Varane plus me, that things will be in the way that Manchester should be. As you mentioned, well, Sir Alex Ferguson left a big gap in the club. Not only Sir Alex Ferguson, but one person that I thought make the difference, David Gill, the president, a very, very good man. And the structure around Sir Alex Ferguson was very important too. I knew that Manchester United wasn't the same, but I don't see that it was so big gap, so big things that go through by the last 10 years. And it was the thing that surprised me more, to be honest.
It was little things like even the swimming pool that the players use, the saunas, all these facilities. Nothing had changed since you'd left in 2009.
Nothing changed. Surprisingly, not only the pool, the jacuzzi, even the gym. Even some points, the technology, the kitchen, the chefs, which is I appreciate, lovely persons. They stop in a time which is it surprised me a lot. I thought
Glazers out. That's why it's Glazers out. Imagine coming back to a place 13 years later that's meant to be at the cutting edge of sports. What's the thing? What's it called? Sports science, right? Or development of athletes, whatever it may be called, health and fitness, and they've still got the same people running the same programs, the same people feeding you, the same people training you, the same people massaging, the same methods than before 13 years ago. And you're going back to one of the biggest clubs in the world, not some semi-professional club somewhere. That's one thing. But Manchester United, 13 years, the same facilities, the same people. Absolutely horrendous. That's why all that talk they had about interviewing football directors and getting them involved was never true, because those directors would have come in and wanted to revamp everything, but they don't want to revamp everything. They just want someone to come in and be a caretaker and just go along with what they already got set up. So someone like a John Murto, someone like a Darren Fletcher, they're perfect candidates for those sort of roles, because they're not going to question the hierarchy. They're not going to demand more. They're just going to go along with what's going on and collect their paychecks, and that's what they've done. We haven't heard anything. We haven't heard a flipping peep from Darren Fletcher, a peep from Joe Murto regarding this whole thing. It's just been blanket statements from the club and absolute nonsense. So if this is least at the end of the Glazer ownership, which I doubt it will, I'm not that naive or silly to believe that one man's interview, even somebody as big, influential and powerful as flipping Ronaldo, will change things. But I am optimistic. That's all I can have as a fan, because I want the Glazers gone, because I'm a big believer. Just me. I'm a big believer that until we get the Glazers out of this club, until they sell up, we will never win a major trophy again. I'll say that clearly. Until Manchester United is sold and the Glazers leave and hand the club over to another set of owners who care about sporting success, we will never ever be successful again. These guys only want to extract money from the club. They don't care about making us successful. They care about doing the bare minimum, and that's what they've done for the last 10 or so years. It's been an absolute catastrophe, an absolute failure. The moment Sir Alex Ferguson walked away, the greatest manager in our history, but still only a manager. The moment he stepped away, the whole entire house came falling down. Clear to show that that guy was the greatest manager of all time, Sir Alex Ferguson, but also goes to show the infrastructure around him was weak. Absolutely weak. So I can't wait for the Glazers to go. So for me, hashtag Glazers out, hashtag Glazers sell now, hashtag Glazers sell, hashtag Glazers out until the end. And Cristiano Ronaldo brings it upon us, then I'm all for it.